there has to be finality to every litigation. Okay? I went to court. I lost. I had a position. And I was told, by the way, what I say is not the law, but what the courts say becomes the law. I respected that. I accepted that. They ruled that Lungu was eligible. And next, Lungu's name was on the ballot. Next, Lungu took part in the election. Next, Lungu lost. Now, is he eligible to stand in 2026? Yes, he's eligible, because nothing has changed between 2021 and the next election. Now, to go back and start now beating the courts to change its tune, that is what I find difficult to accept. That is what we should not entertain as a country. And it's very dangerous, and my worry is that a decision to the effect that Lungu is not eligible, reversing the earlier decision would destroy the court completely. It would destroy the court completely. No matter how creative they may be in their thinking, okay, it will simply destroy the court. I know that other people have said, I walked away upset. No. I think I walked away with a sense of sadness and a sense of shame. It was more about sadness, really, because what transpired in court, even as a matter of common sense, should not have transpired. Now, the point is this. The court, at the end of first of all, you must understand the gravity, the enormous powers that are vested in this court. Matters begin and end in this court. There is no option for an appeal. In a court like this, common sense would dictate that judges should have a somewhat liberal and assure him.
Is a court allowed to show emotions? I did a piece. One of the things that rather shocked me was their emotional response and emotional rebuttal, and their worry about the matters in the media, that their character were impugned in the media, and they were rather emotional. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes, I was in court. Unfortunately, those are the issues you take into account when you're identifying judges. Okay?
It's a qualification issue.
These are qualification issues. We're not just looking at your academic qualification. We're looking at also what kind of temperament do you have? Are you the emotional type? Or are you one that is able to separate yourself from your emotions and look only at the law and the facts? Based on that test, those judges failed, and failed miserably. That if a judge receives a case and there is a possibility that his impartiality or her impartiality is likely to be questioned, a judge is not supposed to touch the case. It's there in the law.
Wow.
Okay? It's there.
Someone doesn't need to complain.
You don't need to complain. Judges should have the capacity to police themselves. That is what the law expects. Ambassador, as a judge, you have the power of life and death over ordinary citizens. You have the power to either build or destroy your own country. As a public officer, whatever you do, you must point to a provision of the law. Yeah. If you can't point to a provision of the law, you can't do it. Now, even in this case, the Constitutional Court must be able to point out to say there is a provision in the Constitution which allows us to examine the eligibility of a losing presidential candidate.
That's another big point.
Okay? They should point to a provision of the law. So tell me, which provision in the law tells you can challenge the nomination, you can challenge the president-elect, but there is no provision in our Constitution to challenge the eligibility of a losing presidential candidate? If there is, then let them tell us what provision that is. The Constitutional Court has ruled. Ambassador, if I may push the argument a little slightly further, in our constitutional arrangement, and I'll make this statement very boldly, and I hope that some lawyers will come and challenge me on that. Only the Supreme Court is allowed to depart from its own decisions. And even that right is qualified. Okay? It must be justified in the interest of justice and in the development of the law. Only the Supreme Court. But there is no similar provision in relation to the Constitutional Court. Whatever decision the Constitutional Court makes, it is bound by that decision. It is stuck with that decision. And as a country, we have to come to that reality. We can't go on and beat the court until it gives us the decision that we want.